Hi guys, this is the continuation video to my radio show from August 11th that I posted. I wasn't able to get to all the information, so I'm making the separate video. I'm going to start from the beginning since I was speaking very quickly in my radio show, so I want to make sure that everybody understands everything. And I'll get through all of it right now. And obviously, like I said, if you have any questions, you can post them in the comments section and I will try to address them next week. Also, there are things I won't be saying and words that I won't be using due to censorship. And just so you know, I'm going to show you images. So just look at the screen and that will help you understand what I'm trying to say and what I'm talking about. Okay. All right. Let's get into what I was saying from the very beginning. All right. Let's get into this spiritual war that I've been talking about. You need to understand the bigger picture first in order to understand the smaller picture of what is happening now. I'm going to start at the very beginning. My goal is to explain this very complex situation in the simplest way possible that I'm capable of doing. I can't go into every single detail, so this is really just sort of a summary for you of what I feel is the most important information that you need to know, and it will be your responsibility to find the truth, seek the truth, ask God for wisdom. Just know that you need to seek this on your own and that you're being guided through your own connection with God, and trust that you will be guided to exactly what you need to know and when. You are a sovereign being, and it's a big deal that you advocate for yourself. However, if you have questions afterwards, email me or post them so that I can address them on the next show, like I already said. Okay, the big picture here, and I'm using the word God because I believe in God and I believe in the Word of God, and you can substitute whatever term you want that you feel most comfortable doing, but ultimately God is the creator. He is the Most High. He's the king of this kingdom, of the world, of the universe. So I feel that's appropriate, but again, everybody resonates maybe with a different term. I don't care. My goal is that you just understand what I'm trying to share with you, and you do your own research and sort through this information so that you can educate yourself with this. Now remember, this is going to, and I'm also going to be using the term him and he because it's easier, again, versus trying to substitute and make everybody happy with whatever language that they use. Okay, so I'm using the language that I use. And remember, this is a quick summary, and I'm hoping that I don't butcher this, but I'm just doing the best that I can to share this information. So, for those of you that are keyboard warriors and want to dissect everything that I'm saying, that's fine. Do what you are going to do. But ultimately, I'm just trying to explain this in the simplest way. And if I butcher it a little bit or, my bad. Okay, so in the beginning, God created the universe and the angels. He then created Earth, Adam, and then Eve. At some point, the angel Lucifer's ego gets out of control and he gets mad at God because he thinks he can do a better job. He wants to be the king and be in control. He then recruits other angels to his cause by pointing out the flaws of God's creation, like the fact that God created our souls to have an earthly experience. The fallen angels, which I call Team Lucifer, basically were upset because they felt God gave us the same powers as angels because he created us with the opportunity to hold high positions in heaven like the angels, but he gave us even more power in their eyes because we can procreate. So Lucifer, with the energy of Satan, and I've talked about this in my other show last week, that I believe these are two different. Lucifer is an angel and Satan is maybe more of an energy or this whole other negative entity. I'm still trying to sort through it all myself. So again, do your own research. So Lucifer, with the energy of Satan, seduced Eve in the Garden of Eden. She ate the forbidden fruit of knowledge, which the way that I intuit and interpret this is he seduced her with lust. It was all about sex, not procreation as God had designed it. Right? So procreation, having sex between Adam and Eve was to procreate, and it was based on love and a relationship, whereas Lucifer came in and basically seduced her with lust and the feel-good aspect of sex, and not for the higher purpose that it was created for. So through that, and that was the original sin of humanity. So basically our parents sinned, right? Because after Eve was seduced with lust, she then in turn seduced Adam through lust as well. And at some point, the fallen angels, or, basically at that point, Team Lucifer was cast out of heaven. And the fallen angels, or the Nephilim, I believe is the word that they use in the Bible. And I'm studying the Bible again and going through all of this on a deeper level. I can't even really say again because I've read bits and pieces of it, but haven't fully gone through it to completely understand it. But that's my goal, is to really understand the Word of God. And so, okay, I'm getting off topic here. So the fallen angels, or the Nephilim, I believe is the word again used in the Bible, then basically created hell on earth, and the angels had sex with God's creation, the women, and obviously Lucifer had sex with Eve, and at that point created hybrids, and a hybrid between angels and the human soul. Now these bloodlines have been around for thousands of years, and they are the ones that are ruling the world. And these are the people that are in the shadow, and these are the ones that are basically in control, in power. And if you do some research, these fallen angels have reincarnated over and over again through any means necessary, including using alien factions, spreading evil far and wide through the guise of good. So everything is really about the whole oneness. Believe it or not, they really have infiltrated the New Age, and a lot of the things that the New Age is pushing, really they're not realizing that this is the false light, and that is really the energy of Lucifer and Satan that is being pumped out to the masses, all about oneness. So do some research on these bloodlines, and do some research on, like I said, they incarnate in many means necessary, and it has a lot to do. You know what, I'm going to just get into that in another video. So these bloodlines, these group of people, they believe they're special, and that we are scum and are meant to be slaves to their system, to their world. They believe in Luciferianism, which is the false light. However, God is the Most High and creator of everything, so he has allowed this to happen because of the original sin of Adam and Eve. Because God does not want to make the same mistake, allowing evil into the kingdom of heaven, we are being tested here. So we have free will, thanks to God, and He is not here to force you to love him and appreciate him for creating your soul. It's your choice to choose to do so, and to choose how you treat yourself and others. And during the time of harvest is when God separates those worthy to continue to the next steps, required to go to heaven for eternity. That's the quick explanation. And like I said, hopefully I haven't butchered it too badly. I'm trying to put it in a format that's easily understandable. So, forgive me if I've made some, mistakes in my terminology. What I want to really get into is the Luciferian Creed as explained by William Carr, based on documentation that was found during raids tied to some secret societies. I'm not going to name the secret societies just because those are kind of words that are being censored. So just do your own research, and I recommend that you do this research on a search engine that doesn't censor and doesn't follow you. And I highly recommend that you read this book yourself. Again, it's written by William Carr. The book is called Satan, Prince of This World. The book is from the 1950s, and you can access it for free online. Just, again, type in the title and the name of the author, and you should be able to find it for free. Anybody can access it. I want you to understand what the people in power believe and what the difference is between their beliefs and God's. So let me get into this with you right now. So this is the Luciferian Creed as written in William Carr's book. 1. Where God requires a human being to prove it wishes to love and serve him voluntarily for eternity, out of respect for his infinite perfections, Lucifer says, I will enslave the human race under a totalitarian dictatorship and deprive them of their physical and mental liberties, and so negate their ability to use their intellect and free will as God intended. This is the purpose behind the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and multiple other nonprofit organizations. They are being used to deceive you. 2. Where the commandments of God make perfectly clear what he considers sin, Luciferians and their agents teach the inversion of the commandments of God. Pike and other high priests of the Luciferian Creed state, everything God has made known to be displeasing to him is pleasing to Lucifer. 3. God's plan for creation required everything to be made different. There are no two leaves exactly alike, no two snowflakes. The Luciferian ideology requires regimentation so that everything can be centralized and made as much alike as possible. Integration is the most typical example of this theory being put into practice. Integration does not mean simply that the public shall accept the principle that people of different races, colors, and creeds shall enjoy the same privileges and considerations as white people. Integration means to bring together parts so they form one whole, to make up and complete as a whole. The Luciferian ideology requires that the human race be integrated absolutely so that all creeds, races, colors, if you will, of humanity are mixed into one vast conglomeration without any distinctive features as cultures, racial traits, or other peculiarities. And our cultures are beautiful, right? Everybody comes from a different background. That's amazing. It's beautiful. 4. God's plan requires that there shall be numerous worlds. The scriptures speak of the seventh heaven. They name the different choirs of angels, their nature, office, and characteristics. They tell us that even in each choir, every angel is higher or lower in scale than the other. We are told it is possible for those in the lowest choirs to work their way up so they achieve higher status by merit or descend down the scale because of lack of merit. The Luciferian ideology requires that there shall be only two classes. 1, those who govern, i.e., the holders of the light, the super intelligent beings, and 2, those they enslave, where God permits, encourages, and rewards individual initiative. Luciferianism does not tolerate it in any shape or form. 5. God insists that in order to ensure perfect peace and happiness in heaven, every soul he selects as one of his elect must have proved that it honestly and sincerely, without qualification or revocation, desires to love and serve God voluntarily out of respect for his infinite perfections for all eternity. It is to produce proof of this desire that we human beings are being tested so thoroughly. God doesn't intend that there shall be a second revolt in heaven. Luciferianism, on the other hand, says that permanent peace shall be assured by the king despot, exercising absolute despotism over his subjects. The Luciferian protocols say the Luciferian totalitarian dictatorship, when established on this earth, will have at its head a king despot, whose will is to be enforced by satanic despotism. 6. Where God's plan required love to be the creative and charity the governing force in nature, the Luciferian creed says lust shall be the creative force and right or might the governing force. 7. Where God ordered that each class of his creatures on this earth shall increase and multiply, each according to his kind, the Luciferian ideology requires that in the final stage of the conspiracy, only the governing body shall have the liberty to enjoy the pleasures, lusts of the flesh, and the right to gratify their carnal desires. All others are to be made into human cattle and enslaved physically, mentally, and spiritually in order to ensure permanent peace and social security. Procreation will be strictly limited to types and numbers determined scientifically as sufficient to fill the requirements to the state. According to Bertrand Russell, on pages 49 to 51 of his book, The Impact of Science on Society, less than 5% of males and 30% of females will be selected from the goyim to be used for breeding purposes, and reproduction will be achieved by artificial insemination practiced on an international scale. Investigation has proved that experiments are now being conducted in both Canada and the United States to determine if the semen of human males cannot be preserved and kept fertile indefinitely, the same as the semen taken from prize bulls. Recent discoveries have made it possible to keep semen taken from bulls indefinitely by freezing quickly to a temperature of approximately 130 degrees below zero. Already, huge banks have been established in which several million samples of graded semen are stored. Orders received for a particular type or strain can be flown to any part of the world. Smaller banks are now being established in suitable locations to serve the needs of cattle-raising states. This statement is fact, not fiction. And we know that this statement is fact because this book was written in the 1950s, right? We already know that in vitro is a possibility because so many people have experienced it. And we already know that they can freeze human sperm indefinitely because we are doing it currently. I mean, there's been so many advances in technology, so it's very easy to see that there's truth in what he's saying in this book. 8. Under God's plan, reproduction of the human species was and is intended to be the most holy and sacred function performed by a male and female joined together in one flesh for the duration of their mortal lives. According to God's plan, the primary motive to indulge in sexual intercourse is to procreate another human body into which God can infuse a soul, which he wishes to give the opportunity of learning to know him and love him and to will to serve him voluntarily for all eternity. Theologians admit that in giving the ability of reproduction in accordance to his will, God gave us powers not even enjoyed by the angels. They are all both good and bad created beings. The powers God gave to human beings caused those angels who had joined Lucifer to become jealous. That is why Lucifer and/or Satan decided to foul up God's plan as far as procreation of the human species is concerned. This is the reason women have had to present themselves for purification after the birth of a baby since as far back as we have been able to inquire. This is why baptism was instituted as a sacrament. This explains why women are required to cover their heads in church, because Satan fouled up God's plan. Human beings who descended from Adam and Eve are children of the flesh until they are born again spiritually. And I don't want you guys to freak out about this, where he talks about, obviously the most holy sacred function from the original plan was performed by male and female. Obviously, we're in a time where we have the LGBTQ movement, and there's many people that aren't just procreating with the opposite sex. I don't want you to feel or believe that you're going to be punished for that, or that you're going to hell, because God is a loving God and a forgiving God. But it's just me trying to point out to you where everything fell apart and how Lucifer has come in and deceived others. So again, just, get right with God in your heart, and God is a forgiving being. Okay, so I don't want you guys to freak out about that. 9. God's plan says that all human beings should love and be charitable towards their neighbors. The word neighbor, as used by Christ, means a person who won't do another harm, but rather will go out of his way to do a good turn, even though the recipient be a stranger. The Luciferian doctrine says that in order to impose absolute power by satanic despotism, those who are selected to rule must first prove they are utterly devoid of human sentiment. According to the pronouncement of Mr. Pike, this ridding themselves of human emotions must be carried out by men selected to rule to the extent that they don't even feel love or sympathy or any sentimental feeling whatsoever towards members of the opposite sex. Pike ruled that women initiated into lodges of adoption should be made common property. He said members of the Palladian rite should use them frequently and without passion, but solely to gratify their sexual urges without allowing love or sentiment, which leads so many human hearts astray, entering into their sexual relationships. Thus, he says, men shall enchain women while obtaining absolute control of their human weaknesses. So we see that everything that God considers good, Lucifer says is evil. Everything God considers strength of character, Luciferians consider weakness of character. 10. God's plan requires that human beings care for the sick, the disabled, the imprisoned, and the aged. The Luciferian ideology insists that all goyim who become unable or unfit to serve the state efficiently shall be destroyed. This diabolical principle is being made acceptable in the minds of innocent human beings by being presented as mercy killing, the scientific name for which is euthanasia. 11. God's plan for civilized society is based on the principle that two human beings of opposite sex shall establish a home and raise family. Luciferians say that the destruction of the family and home is absolutely essential to the success of their conspiracy. 12. God's plan required the parents to provide for their offspring and to educate them in God's holy will and the facts of life. Luciferians say the state shall regulate births and raise the children born as the result of planned selective breeding. They insist that only the state has the right to educate. Forgive the use of the word by such devils in human form. Those they intend shall serve the state. 13. God's plan intends to elevate the dignity of man until he achieves a high degree of spiritual perfection. The scriptures tell us that we can qualify for the highest vacant seats in heaven. Luciferianism is insistent that every human being be reduced to its lowest possible level. It was to further this diabolical theory that Cromwell's levelers drove in the thin edge of the wedge. Today, it has advanced to the stage where women have demanded the right to adopt the same immoral codes as men, the right to smoke, to do everything that does not elevate them above the tilth, the dirt, and slime of decadent human nature. God sets up chastity as a virtue. Lucifer says we must be promiscuous to demonstrate our godship. Christ proved by his devotion and love and respect for his earthly mother, Mary, that God intended motherhood to be the greatest of all vocations. Christ's relationship to his earthly mother and Mary's love and devotion to her son should tell us that, despite the fall of Eve, he still wants woman to be a being of beauty, charm, and grace, foil of love, charity, and affection. He wants women to be real mothers, not just human incubators who accidentally conceive due to human error. Luciferianism is determined to drag womanhood down into the gutter and to the level of the natural state of the lower beasts of creation. 14. God provided everything we require for our use and benefit. He ordered that we use all things in moderation. The Luciferian ideology says, but doesn't intend, that man shall be a law unto himself and do as he pleases. 15. God's plan of creation placed everything he created in perfect balance. Those who are developing the Luciferian conspiracy to its ultimate objective are doing their level best to put God's creation out of balance, and the human race pays the penalty for the sins of presumption committed by Luciferians. So that is, let me just read these next two paragraphs here really quickly because I kind of feel like they're important. And then, as I stated, go and read this book. It's pretty powerful, and it will open your eyes to some things that you're witnessing now. Okay, the next two paragraphs. We could go on and on proving that Luciferianism is diametrically opposed to God's plan for the rail of creation. The point we hope we have made is this: the Luciferian ideology has been drawn up to appeal to men who consider themselves intellectual giants. Lucifer knows that his totalitarian ideology is wrong. When he occupied the highest throne in heaven and was subordinate to God alone, his pride convinced him that if he set up his own kingdom and ruled it with absolute despotism, every aspect and phase of his dominion would have to work peacefully, efficiently, and economically. He used his supernatural powers to force the hand of Almighty God. Because God derives pleasure only from those of his creatures who love to serve him voluntarily, because of their respect for his infinite perfections, he had to let Lucifer go to his eternal damnation or change the principle on which he had established his rule. That Lucifer has realized his enormous mistake cannot be doubted, but his pride wouldn't allow him to admit it. How many human beings act like Lucifer in that respect today? The Hitlers, the Mussolinis, the Roosevelts, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Churchills, all of those who spread Luciferianism from their seats at the top levels of our civilization. How many of our lower orders ape them and follow them? They lead us, as Lucifer led us, many of the heavenly hosts, to our destruction. So, as I stated, check out this book. It's pretty amazing. It answers a lot of questions that you might be asking yourself right now. And this book is just one of thousands of resources to explore. And I've told you before, everything that evil does must be hidden in plain sight because God created you as a sovereign being with free will to choose. So this is your test. Okay, so it's your test to find and seek the truth. No matter how painful it is, you need to know the truth. And it's out there, and they have to put it out there because they can deceive you into giving up your soul. They can deceive you and trick you into following down the wrong path, but they can't do it with a blatant hidden lie. So what they do is they manipulate and deceive it. One of the things that is being used right now with the whole debate with the masks, no masks, the science behind it, and all these other things, right? It's really kind of a testing time to see how many people are going to give in to the will of the Luciferianism creed. Okay, so do your research, gain the wisdom and knowledge, talk to God, get yourself straight. So now I want to show you how every secret society uses symbology to communicate with each other in plain sight, again, through symbology. And these symbols are used to distinguish themselves from each other and present a thought that is an ideogram, meaning basically without using words. Kind of like, a red light means stop, a green light means go, and a yellow light means caution. You're not actually seeing the words, you're seeing the symbol of it, right? So some of these symbols and gestures are so subtle you never even notice them. It's really about looking at patterns, and most people are so busy in their lives. They're worried about their jobs, they're worried about money, they're worried about clothes, they're worried about all these other things. They're running around trying to take care of the kids, they're doing everything, and they're not really paying attention to what they're looking at, what they're reading, what they're listening to, and that is how you're being deceived. So it's really important to open your eyes and pay attention to what's out there. It's in everything you watch, everything. It's amazing once you start noticing. It's insanity how you will see all sorts of things you never noticed before. So this is going to be somewhat brief. But I'm going to add this all in, and let me know what you guys think, or if you have any questions. Okay, so this first image here is showing you all of the different hand signs that are used in these societies to basically communicate with each other. So these are the ones that you can kind of look out for. I'll try to keep this on the screen as long as possible so you can read the wording down below. But this is something that you can just do some research on, and you can find the meanings behind them. So that I just wanted to kind of show you an overview of all of them, but I'm not going to show you examples of all of them. I'm just going to show you a few examples today. So the first example that I want to show you first is the actual image of the Baphomet, which is the god that they believe in, and here is what that looks like. So you can kind of see that image here, and I'll leave that on the screen for a moment so you can take a good look. And then what I'm going to do now is show you, really kind of pay attention to the hand that is pointing up, right? You see the two fingers pointing up there? Okay, so now, and you can obviously look at the hand pointing down. It has the exact same, shape, basically holding the fingers the exact same way. And now what I'm going to show you, which I had mentioned in my last show, last week's show, the previous week, that the Antichrist, basically the image of Jesus that we've all come to know and understand, that has been pumped into the public basically from the time each one of us was born, because it's been around for a long time. I want to show you now a few different images of how and what I'm talking about, and notice the hand in all of them. And again, you can do plenty of research and find this information yourself. You can also, find various basically examples of this, what the meaning is of it, and basically anything you want. Again, I'm trying to limit what I say because I don't want to become censored. I want you guys to be able to see this, and there's plenty of other content creators online that have done various videos that are really amazing, that go into detail about this. Now, notice where on the actual image of the Baphomet, where one hand is pointing up, the other one is pointing down. From my understanding, it represents as above, so below, which is tied to their belief system. And to me, it means what was in heaven is also in hell or on earth, but it's inverted or mirrored. Again, do your own research. But if you pay close attention, you will see many people on your TV screens who use this hand gesture in very subtle ways and sneaky ways. And at times, they're very deliberate about it, and you will notice it done with, the pretending to like shoot themselves in the head with their fingers, and there's just all sorts of ways that they are going to show you this while they're communicating with others. Now, they also do another hand signal that basically what we've come to know it as, or what it's been told to us is, the rock and roll. But really, secretly, it means something completely different to them. And that is this hand gesture. So there you go. You can check it out. Look at who's doing that. And then let me just show you some more here. Boom, there we go. Look at those people doing it. And again, if you do your own research, you do some image searches, you watch TV, magazines, everything, it is there. It is there to be seen. You just have to open your eyes to it. This is just a few of many that you will notice doing this when they're speaking. And, sure, you could say, oh, it's an accident. No, it's kind of hard to make your hand like that in an accident. And pointing it at people is usually, cursing them. So the next thing that I want to show you really quickly is I'm going to take you back to the original image of their God. And I want you to really kind of take a close look at the staff in the middle of the abdomen area. And really take a look at that. And I'm going to try to get this zoomed in so you can really see it. And I'm certain this is an image that you've probably seen somewhere before. And maybe it's not quite coming to you in this moment, but there's no doubt you've seen it in many places, especially in the medical field, because that is the symbol that we use for the medical field. And here's just a quick example of it. But, go online and do some research again, and you will see that it is everywhere tied to the medical profession. Okay, so I'm going to show you one other place that you can see something similar, and take a look at this. And this is not the only staff that's used, but there's multiple ones in different ways all around the world in every sort of faith-based religion. So yeah, we've really been deceived on many ways. So yeah, do your research on that. Okay, let's move on. Here is another one, another symbol that you can see everywhere on your TV, magazines, and again, in sneaky ways. They will cover one eye in some way, sometimes with it a hand, with hair, with you name it. But here is a collage of many famous people, from albums, magazine covers, to commercials, that you can see all do that, right? This is not a coincidence, people. Like, this is not, how many times do you do that when you're taking a photo, or, in public somewhere where you're just like, oh, let me pose and put my hand over my eye? No, this has meaning. And again, do your research. You can look up the meaning. Trying to say as little as possible. And again, you need to be advocating for yourself and educating yourself on this information. Okay, so the next one, another one that you can see everywhere, is this hand sign. And I'm not going to say what it is because it'll show you on the screen, but boom. Okay, we all think it means okay. And maybe that's how we're using it, because we've been deceived to believe that it means okay. But within these organizations, that is not what it means. And again, do some research and look around, and you will find the answers that you seek to your questions. And let me just show you another example of this, which actually, incorporates two different
signs is this one. Hi, hello, what the heck? Okay, again, is this a coincidence? No, it's not. All right, let me stop singing to you. Okay, last thing I'm going to show you before I jump off, okay, which is to me pretty mind blowing. But what I'm going to show you is the actual audience hall of the Pope where he speaks to the masses, to us, and holds his services. So this is the outside of it, of the building. And look what that looks like. You can see the image that is next to it that I'm comparing it to. And again, like why we know that this specific animal is not tied to a positive religion, right? Okay, so let me show you the inside of the hall. Hi, hello, what the heck? That's super creepy. Again, there are no coincidences, right? Really think about that. Everything has purpose and everything has meaning in this world. So really take a look at that. And let me just show you this one right here that kind of labels things for you in case you're having a difficult time seeing it, is this one right here. Okay, so it kind of lays it out for you. And I would also like to point out, look at the image in between the two fangs, right? Like it's really small right now. You can't really see it that well, but I'm about to give you a close up of it so you can see. This is the sculpture that is behind, you know, the Pope, basically, when he's speaking to the masses. So I'm about to show you a close up of that. Hi, this is really, really, really gross. How is that? How is that even art? Not in the positive, not to me faith-based, not love, not, I don't know, when you look into it, like there's creepy skulls and all kinds of stuff. And you can do research on the actual sculpture itself and what the meaning supposedly is behind it. But the tall being, that is supposed to be Jesus, okay? And let me give you just a close up of the head area. Whoa. Okay? This is not I'm sorry if you're not questioning things right now or you're feeling triggered by this information, then you've got some serious work to do for yourself, because the piece behind, because again, everything has meaning, right? So one, this is the image that we've been told is Jesus. And then they're telling you in plain truth, like, look at the back side of the head. Like, to me, that looks like a reptile. That looks like a reptilian in nature. It looks like a dinosaur. And when you really start getting into this, you're going to make the connection between the reptilian stuff, okay? You're going to have to go down this rabbit hole yourself and really get into it. If your interest is piqued or you want to try to prove me wrong about stuff, do some digging yourself, do the research. You will find the answers. So I'm going to leave it at that. I appreciate you taking the time watching this. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments section or email me at AskRebeccaToday@gmail.com. And I will do my best to answer the questions in my next video. And until then, love and blessings to you, and get your heart, head, and life right with God, and really ask for guidance so that you can seek the truth, because it's very, very important right now. All right, thank you guys.